guys, what's going on? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name's Chad and that's Gregson. Today, well, a lot of stuff happened to that V70R behind me. And well, I last drove this car about a year ago when it was significantly less cool than it is right now. So I'm gonna forcibly take the keys from Greg and we're gonna go for a drive. Before we do that, I'm gonna turn it over to Greg and he's gonna tell you about this episode's sponsor.
That's right. This episode of our Tame the Dragon or Conquer the Dragon event is Viva Performance. I've actually ordered a bunch of parts for this car from Viva Performance. The 10mm spacers all the way around are from Viva. My steering wheel was refinished by them. The e-brake handle, the e-brake boot. So they have performance parts. They also have unique parts if you want to get something done. Contact George and Connor over at Viva Performance. They're really easy to work with and they love Volvos. It's a Volvo first shop. And they have OEM parts, they have performance parts, and they have unique stuff if you want, like I said, if you want to get your seats reskinned, they have a full leather thing you can do, or you can get your steering wheel refinished. Check them out, it's vivaperformance.com, or you can find them on any social media at Viva Performance. So I am reluctantly giving the keys to Chad.
Give me those.
To go.
Bye-bye.
I don't know if I trust Chad. Oh, Chad, hi, didn't see you there.
Why you're not that much shorter than me. Why do you sit so far away?
I'm 5'6". I'm very top tall.
Your whole torso.
Oh God. I'm moving closer to the camera. Hello.
I'm sure our viewers appreciate that.
First we need some air conditioning because it is disgusting outside. You join us in North Carolina and it is 93 degrees indicated, so it's pretty wretched. Let's hope the air conditioning doesn't cut out like it did on the way here.
Well, that's an interesting fun fact I learned about Volvos. When you drive them hard, the AC just
stops.
It's a little clutch pack in the
Yep, or it hates traffic. Mine was perfect on the way here. As soon as we hit traffic, it just cut out.
Yeah. I think that was the same for me in the C30.
Yeah.
Clutch is so much different than this C30.
Well, it's also different from the last time you drove this because a lot of you guys that maybe have seen the video or haven't seen the video, Chad had this car for a little while because he was waiting on parts, and the car itself is just very different, not even just from the engine mods, but as a whole. The injectors are bigger, so we get a lot of fuel dump out the back with a burble tune. The clutch position sensor was changed, so your clutch is actually going to be feeling a little bit different. You won't get to some of that overrun when you like let off the accelerator. So the car is, the setup is, you know, the feel is a little bit the same, but the setup is different.
And that's an excellent point. So to those of you who haven't seen Greg's 3-part series on what rolling motors did to this car, you should definitely check those out. We'll be linking them in the description below. But the short of it, Greg, what have you done to this car, or what's different in this car since the last time I drove it?
Oh God, almost everything. The last time Chad drove this car, the only thing we had done, and I actually looked back in the videos this morning, the only thing we had done was the exhaust. We didn't even have it tuned yet. So it is just the exhaust. And since then we've had an intake, a front mount intercooler, block shims, bigger injectors, new turbo, a K26 turbo shoved inside of a K24 housing. The entire fueling system was redone with 750cc injectors. The tune was custom done to the car. I mean, what haven't we done to this thing since the last time you drove it? It's unbelievable. If you want to go check out the whole series, click the card above. It is the entire Project Volvo V70R series, and it's just epic, and I love this car so much. But the important part of this video is how are you loving it so far? We're kind of backed up behind a little bit of bikers, but initial thoughts on what you're feeling.
Well, first and foremost, the thing that beats you over the head is this actually feels like a well put together and sorted vehicle. When I drove it last, it very much felt like a garage build car.
Yeah.
Not that you can't build amazing stuff in your garage, but you know, the steering was a little wonky. The all-wheel drive system didn't work. You know, there's just a lot of little niggles here and there that kind of, you don't really notice when you're driving a car because it was still a really fun car to drive. But now that you drive it in this iteration, it's a completely different vehicle. I mean, we still are riding on the same suspension, which are BC coilovers. similar wheels, although when I had it, I think I had the Avantes on it.
Yep. So you're probably feeling a little bit heavier steering feel.
A little bit heavier steering, yeah. But I also prefer a little bit of a heavier steering feel. And no, it's just it's very well put together, and it's something you would come to expect from, you know, Ben and his boys up there at Rolling Motors.
Yeah, I agree.
While we're stuck behind these motorcyclists who have every bit to the road, as I do, get out of the way. Let's talk about a few things. Now, I don't know how much detail you went into it, but we talked about this last night around the fireplace. The tune on your car.
Yes.
It seems very conservative.
It's not extremely conservative, but it's conservative to the extent that it's not, you know, ridiculous to drive around town. You sort of roll the throttle on and you get this sort of surge. But the way it's tuned is it's tuned for mid-range. It's not tuned for low-end torque. You know, you still get the turbo spool down low, and you know, between 1500 and 2500 RPM, but it really starts to kind of like throw you back into the seat around 3500 RPM, and that's where this car really shines, is 3500 to 7000, because you don't get that torque drop off when you saw in the original dynos of this car. You have that like surge, and then it kind of just plateaus and falls off. This thing pulls hard all the way through 7200 RPM now, and it really starts around like 2800 to 3500, depending on what gear you're in. And it's conservative down low so that you can still daily it, which I think is a testament to what the whole purpose of this build was going to be. You know, the E46 M3 and now the Supra we're taking on with Albon Films, you know, those cars are dailyable. And this should be as well. This shouldn't be some stripped out crazy sports car, because to beat them and be dailyable, you have to beat them at their own game. And that's the point of this tune and the point of the car. Gotcha.
Now, the bigger turbo could have done just a lot of those things you've already mentioned. Now, how much bigger is that turbo versus the stock unit?
It's basically one size up. Essentially, the stock unit is a K24. This is a K26. So it's just one upgrade essentially. You're not throwing like a freaking, you know, Borg Warner 83 millimeter, you know, giant spoolie boy in here. You're throwing something that's one level above stock, and I think that was, again, kind of the point. You know, we wanted to do the minimum amount to this car to beat the M3, and I think that the K24, K26, which is it's a completely custom turbo, don't get me wrong, this thing isn't just a K24 housing with the 26 shoved in. They bored out some of the oil line, it's custom oil lines. They bored out a lot of the actual housing to make the 26 fit, to give better flow, to make the, you know, it is a bigger wheel on each side. So it is a custom turbo, don't get me wrong, but it's not something as gigantic as, you know, a massive like GTX turbo or what have you. But it's a noticeable difference. Like, you hear a lot of the turbo noise when you're getting on it.
Outside of the engine, have you done anything to this car apart from the BCs it came on?
No, and that's the next basically part of the build, and that's the finale essentially. We may swap the BCs. I'm still undecided on that. There's really two other options as far as suspension goes for this car. That's like a complete kit, KWs, or you can basically revert to 4C and put like TME springs on it or Elevate springs on it. And since I've already done that, it was a you know, a decent ride, but I want to go maybe something a little bit more, you know, beefy. Maybe we will end up going with the KWs just because they are, you know, well known to be a very good company, and also a really good suspension just in the car world in general, not just Volvos.
They're insane.
They're you know, well known in the German community, and especially Audis and BMWs and Mercedes.
Oh, they're everything. I mean, the German community, the JDM community,
right?
You know, they are, as far as coilovers are concerned, pretty much top of the heap. I mean, you pay for that, but
exactly.
It's not like you're not getting anything for your money. When you pay for KWs, you are getting the best of the very best.
Right. All right, hit it. She's quick now.
She is. She does definitely get up and move.
The all-wheel drive is so nice. It just kind of pulls you through these turns.
It's back there.
Oh yeah. If you guys hear anything rattling around back there, it's a lot of camera equipment and some jack stands because I was gonna try to do a oil change while I was here. So yeah, super fun.
Oh man. But she is quite planted.
She feels good, right?
Yeah, the thing that blows me away about the BCs on this, and I think I mentioned this in my previous video, but I never really got a chance to do, well, this.
Puck it around? Yeah.
Is that just how comfortable they are just in everyday driving, but just how planted, how little body roll. Like you feel a little bit of a dip in the front, but I mean, pretty much everything in this car is in the front.
Right.
So it's really difficult to manage that girth.
Right. And that's the next part of what we're going to do to the car is on top of maybe swapping these for KWs, again, undecided because the BCs are pretty capable. We'll probably end up getting some sway bars, either from Elevate or IPD or something like that. Because, you know, I think this thing with sway bars is going to be tremendously world beating.
Oh, it begs for it. But even so, it still corners pretty flat and true.
Oh yeah, and the AC's already cut out. Noted.
Yeah.
So you owned an M3.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think this thing could beat an M3 in certain aspects right now?
I think power and punch, I think in a straight line, you've got it. As far as, I mean, yes, it's got the all-wheel drive, but as far as like, you're gonna have to make your hay on the straights on a road course, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
In an autocross setting, I think the M3 is going to have you.
Okay.
One of the best things about the M3 was that you were so close to the rear axle, and every time you punched it, you just felt this thrust from behind.
Yeah.
Like, this is a little bit different. The thrust in this car feels like it's pulling you along. The M3 kind of pushed you along. It's a little bit of a shorter wheelbase, so it's a lot more nimble. Not to say this isn't very capable. Like, in corners like this, where you can kind of combine a little bit of handle and horsepower, it's all right. No, I think I'm very interested to see the tests with the M3, because having driven one that when it worked was, I mean, it's an M3. They're all pretty damn special.
Right.
To see how far this has come, I think it's got a legit chance, and I don't think you're going to lose. I think the only disadvantage you have against the Supra, depending on what Albon does, is he's probably got you outbraked, and the M3s has you outbraked as well. It's one of those things that you don't really, when you think about racing, all you think about really is just how fast you can get up and go.
Right.
You don't, like, okay, you need to brake, obviously, but the later you can brake, the more you're accelerating.
Right.
So the more speed you can carry, all this other stuff. And these brakes are good for stock. I don't know if they're good for 400 plus horsepower.
Yeah, I mean, they are Brembos. They do grab. They do their job pretty well. There are better options out there, I feel.
Right. And these things, and I know this because I've been following you, or in close proximity to you for most of this trip.
That's right.
But I can hear just from following you or being around you, I'm like, oh, there's Greg braking. Because I think you do get a pretty decent amount of brake fade in here.
Yeah, there's a good amount of brake fade, and these things squeal like crazy. So you can smell it and you can hear it.
One of the things I loved the most about driving this car around was people would hear an exhaust, look, and then see it was a Volvo station wagon and be like, I'm sorry, what?
Right. And that's sort of the point of, you know, making this sleeper wagon is you pull up to someone at a light and, you know, it's some Corvette or something, and they're like, yeah, you want to go? And then you just have the knowledge that you could just utterly destroy them, because it's hilarious how fast this thing is now. It's not like crazy, but it is significantly faster than it was, and it will embarrass a lot of cars.
As it sits, as a product, this thing is, I mean, it's a phenomenal car. It will literally do everything you can ask a car to do. So, go to work, check.
Yep.
Move shit around, very check. You know, pile 5 people in the car, go somewhere, check.
Yep.
And then when you're by yourself, you can have fun. I mean, it's one of those types of vehicles, and wagons in general fit this mold, but this is a performance one with a manual box it's all things to all people, and it's a shame. It's an absolute crying shame that this type of vehicle is being killed by the crossover. I mean, cars in general are being killed by the crossover, but
it's unfortunate.
Overall, this is a phenomenal platform. Anybody out there who's looking to be a little different, looking for something that they can have fun in, take stuff, take people, just do a whole mess of really fun stuff in, and have a car that you can blast around roads like this without really missing a beat.
I think you're looking at it.
Hell of a machine. I mean, time will tell on the M3, but hey, if you don't beat the M3, we keep building until you do.
That's right.
And that's the really cool thing about project cars. So
that's right.
I dig the hell out of this, man.
Do you think we could beat the M3 in the Supra?
I think we have a better chance at the Supra as long as Albon doesn't go crazy. Like, he's
don't do that, Guff.
Because, I mean, the difference for him, like, as long as he doesn't go standalone.
Oh yeah.
As long as he doesn't go standalone, you guys have a little bit of a fair fight.
Yeah.
If he goes standalone, even with the stock turbos, especially on the USDM motor,
yeah.
It's that he will have the straight line advantage without a question.
Yeah. So for right now, he's going piggyback. So we'll see what he does. But yeah. So we're pulling back into the resort. Final thought.
Great car.
Awesome.
I wouldn't be embarrassed driving this.
Awesome. That's great, especially since all of the crap talk we've been throwing back and forth with the C30 and the V70R and Hanson's SR2. So that's high praise coming from
without
you.
question, this is the second best car in the shifting lanes fleet.
Oh yeah, well that's definitely not true. It's definitely the best car in the shifting lanes fleet right now.
I dig the hell out of it. I mean, and frankly, you could do something for this like this for what, like. All in, you're in about what, 20 grand?
I mean tops, and I'll make a video of the entire cost breakdown as to what this thing actually cost at another time, because I really need to get the numbers together. But I mean, if you want to do what we did without all the setbacks that we had, you can probably get the car and all the work done for between 12 to 17. I mean, it's a no-brainer at that point.
That's half
honestly.
the price of the average car.
Correct. And for a well-sorted M3, you're looking at between $25,000 and $30,000 that doesn't have Vanos issues, that doesn't have all that stuff.
Let's slow down. Let's not lead our public astray. Every M3 is just waiting to have Vanos issues, unless they were just immediately replaced.
True. Either way, a well-sorted M3 from a really well-known place, you're probably looking at 25, 30 grand.
Yeah. So this is, I probably shouldn't have gone this way, but
that's all right. I went this way the other day.
This is just a really good car. Well done to you and your team.
And Bennett Rolling Motors. Good build.
Oh, absolutely. Good job.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the sweaty handshake.
Oh, God. And that's pretty much it, guys. 17 grand for something with over 400 horsepower, all-wheel drive, manual box, great sound, looks awesome, and you'll surprise the hell out of some people.
And 146,000 miles, and we just have been beating the piss out of this car the last 3 days, and it's just taken everything. So, I mean, you do the block mods, it's going to be more reliable, and like Chad said, it's an amazing car, an amazing platform. So, I mean, you can't really, your money's going to be well spent for sure.
And that's it, guys. If you want to find us out on social media, it's at Shifting Lanes. I'm at Kennedy83. He's at something.
I'm at Real Gregson M. We'll put it down below. You're probably seeing it right now.
If you want to help support the channel, definitely head down to our Teespring account. We have a lot of really cool shirts, like the one Greg's wearing. We got Hellwinkle shirts. We've got Hanson's S60.
Yeah, but we have an S60R shirt, we have a C30 shirt, we have a V70R shirt. If you want to buy any of those, it supports the channel, but they also are really well designed, and they're cool shirts, and they're super comfortable. We wear them all the time. And
it's fantastic. Every dime we make from those things, we put right back into the channel, so that's a direct way for you guys to help and support us.
Yep. So that'll do it. Good driving. We're not dead, so
your car isn't broken.
My car isn't broken, and everything's sort of intact. So I'm gonna go ahead and need those keys back.
We gotta repark the car.
Well, yeah. I don't care. Just
we'll catch you next time, guys.
Jerk.